Good evening. It is 5:30 and we're going to call the regular meeting of the City Council to order. I'd encourage you to turn your phones to silent or vibrate, and then let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chris, could you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Dalby?
Here.
Councilmember Rowe?
Here.
Councilmember Stevens?
Here.
Councilmember Myers?
Here.
Councilmember Berg?
Here.
Mayor Lazio?
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from special meeting number 13 on April 22nd, 2020, special meeting number 14 on April 29th, 2020, and regular meeting number 15 on May 5th, 2020 as presented. Acknowledgement of April financial report and payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. Consider accepting the 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance in the amount of $41,882. Resolution number 92, 2020, approving the city's wellness program Healthy Choices Services Agreement to be provided by the Ottumwa Regional Health Center, term to end on May 23rd, 2021. Resolution number 115, 2020, authorizing the budgeted transfers for fiscal year 2020 debt payments, bond fees, and debt balance adjustments. Resolution number 122, 2020, setting June 2nd, 2020 as the date of a public hearing on the revised sewer fees and charges as presented in ordinance number 3174, 2020. Beer and/or liquor applications for Carradine Wine Company at 620 Church Street, Parkview Plaza, Hotel Ottumwa, 107 East 2nd Street, temporary outdoor service area in correlation with their sidewalk cafe permit. All applications pending final inspections.
Is there a
The
motion?
consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
We need approval for tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
At this time, I'll call on City Administrator Phil Rath to give us an update. So Phil, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. First, I'd like to echo all the thank yous that have gone out from people. Thank yous to medical staff, to public safety, to all those in government and teachers and parents that have done everything they've done during this time. As we continue to look to move forward and to reopen the city, county, state, and nation, there's so many things and decisions that we're having to weigh out. We currently have the Test Iowa site here, and it's located over at the beach. I encourage anyone that is interested or curious to go on the site to go through the assessment and see if they are eligible to get tested there. If you are feeling ill, I'll echo the same sentiments to definitely speak with your medical care professionals and see if you're eligible to get tested there. Lastly, we're looking at with the city and when we can reopen facilities, when we can have public attend these meetings, and we're weighing all of that out, taking our advice from the federal government, state, county, all of the officials that we have they're advising us and helping us in these decisions. We're looking at different things, making sure that we're keeping staff safe, that we're keeping the public safe, and being able to provide a continuity of services for the public. Things that we're weighing out. How do we test the staff and the public? Health screenings or temperature checks, making sure we have enough personal protective equipment for staff, laying out or designing things for proper social distancing, and any other personalized service, including being able to telecommute and other things. The same things that businesses in our community are looking at and weighing out. and investing, considerable amounts of money in to be able to reopen. And so I ask you for continued grace for the city and for those businesses. I also want to thank those that are having to make those tough decisions on how to keep their employees safe and how to reopen and be able to continue services and assisting the public and the economy. I encourage everyone to continue to be socially responsible when making decisions. If you don't feel safe, you have a choice to participate, to go out in the community or not as things open up, making sure you're using proper protective equipment and social distancing, being conscious of those around you. And you always have the opportunity to vote with your feet. If you don't feel safe in an environment, you can leave. So I ask for some grace. I ask for some continued patience. And as things open, I hope to see you out there. Thank you.
We're going to have a progress report on Highway 63 from Mr. Seals. He was here just a moment ago.
There are no comments for the next item.
Good evening, Larry. We have you on for an update on the 63 South IODT or Iowa Department of Transportation project. So give us your information.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. What we had was quite a few questions from different citizens on the progress of the 63 project. Of course, everybody here knows that's a DOT project, not really a city, but it is in joint jurisdiction. What we had staff do was just do a quick drone video for you can have like a bird's eye view of the project. And then I had reached out to the district's engineer's office for the DOT, and they sent the most current project schedule. That's not the right one. Might not be loaded. Having technical difficulties on finding the file, perhaps loaded the wrong one. Just to give an overview, unfortunately, I'd like to show that if it's on there. It looks like. Yeah. They have a fairly aggressive schedule, and you can see by the drone footage that they've made great progress. This is starting on the south end. So off to your right was the old skating ring, and you're heading basically due north here. You can see where they've done the majority of the pavement removal, and they're starting the dirt work. They're well on their way, actually, on the dirt work for the 4-lane section. Coming up is the actual bridge over Jefferson Street drainage ditch. They've got a lot of the pier work and basic abutment work done. They've also, in the bridge that used to span the Wabash Railroad, that area is cut about 13 feet. That seems to be 12 to 13. A general question, we'll just let this film catch up. You can see the columns and piers and stuff that they've got in place, temporary crossing, along with some of the abutment work, foundation work in progress. You can see where Rabbit Run on your right up here. That's where the new Rabbit Run intersection will be. It'll be just outside of the city limits. And then just north of this, where that second hoe is working, is approximate location of what will be the culvert for the bike trail to get underneath and loop back around to the other system. And again, you can see they're well into their cut, and the base construction of the 4-lane portion, it's starting to take shape. On their schedule, just jump to the end. It looks like their planned opening date for open to final traffic is in November, mid-November. Of course, if weather's cooperating with them. So that's just kind of a general view, and people that are watching can kind of have a bird's eye view of what's going on, because there's not real good access to this area for just a visualization of how the project's proceeding. Any just general questions? I mean, again, we're not really out there. We're just happen to be a joint jurisdiction.
I have a question. I noticed that from Mary Street north to almost to the roundabout, they've milled that off. Is that going to be relayed with asphalt again?
It's actually replaced. What they did is when the contractor mowed in their milling, they requested that they could mill everything in one operation. That way they could dispose of the milling separate for concrete removal. So that was just a slight change in the original schedule, but has no real impact on the project.
But it will be relayed.
Yes,
Thanks.
the pavement's replaced.
Any other questions or comments for Larry? Well, we'd appreciate another update later on in the summer, and we'll see how it's going. I hope they can keep their deadline.
It's a good visual. It's a good way to get some information out.
Item E in our agenda is an opportunity for citizens to comment on any item on the agenda, and we do have a phone hookup here in the council chambers. That number is 683-4581. So if anybody has a issue they want to bring up to the attention of the council, now is the time to make them aware of that. Let's go ahead and continue. If we get a phone call, we'll interrupt ourselves for that. Item F.
Approve the application for a sidewalk cafe permit for Hotel Ottumwa, 107 East 2nd Street, beginning May 20th, 2020 through July 18th, 2020, with the option for an extension. Recommendation: approve the application for a sidewalk cafe permit.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Zach. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. So this was actually placed on the agenda because we had completed the sidewalk cafe permit application using an old form. The new ordinance that you recently passed actually allows Phil, as the city administrator, to approve sidewalk cafes. But instead of just taking it down off the agenda, we did want to give an update about this one for a few reasons. The first is that this is the first sidewalk cafe that we've approved. We think that's a kind of exciting moment. It is going to kind of expand the imagination of what type of sort of quality of life amenities are available in Ottumwa, and we're excited to sort of see that happen. The second is that this application is a little bit different. The applicants are seeking the sidewalk cafe in order to increase kind of the amount of seating that they have available for patrons, because they're spreading out to reopen as part of the response to the coronavirus situation. And so we moved this application really, at the scale of how government works, kind of at lightning speed. Chris helped a lot in the clerk's office. It had to go through 5 departments, and we just wanted to emphasize that the staff is really interested in helping the business community to get back on its feet. We're willing to do, a lot of whatever we can do to help out. The third thing is that you'll see a memo in this application. The applicants want to open as soon as they can. And one element of that is that they don't currently have this sort of outdoor furniture that they would want to have to open a sidewalk cafe. And so this application has a note that for 60 days, they'd be able to operate with furniture that they've given examples of, but that we'd want to see, there's a possibility to extend that, but that we'd want to see before the cafe permit became more permanent, that they are moving into the type of furniture we want. And again, that's really to emphasize to the business community that we understand the situation. We know that there's going to be some differences in how we do things in order to make sure that people have the opportunities they need to get back on their feet, and that we're willing to go along with them and to make every opportunity available. And so we just wanted to highlight where we've been on that. I'll leave it to the mayor, I guess, to determine what we have to do with the motion, because again, Phil will be able to approve this without a vote of the council. But.
Any questions for Zach? Good job. Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate your helping the business get that done.
Approve multiple agreements and consent to lien for water service costs for part of the 200 block of East Main Street in connection with the Ottumwa Main Street project, also known as Downtown Streetscape. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to sign the agreements and consent to lien for 2 properties in the 200 block of East Main Street.
Is there a
Move the
motion?
recommendation as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Skip. Okay, Larry, I think, is this your project? Or Kevin?
We're in the downtown streetscape.
Yes. F2.
The downtown streetscape project included new water mains and water services to stop box, which is located in the sidewalk from the water stop box to the building. Water meter is the responsibility of the property owner. For new services added as needed, additional agreements for the remaining buildings will be brought before council as they're fully executed. City staff has worked with each property owner directly to determine if the new service or increased volume is needed based on the current and future development plans they have for their properties. Properties that have already replaced water service or installed fire services will be reconnected at the stop box as part of this project. We're using a forced account method to track time and material for actual cost, and the attached agreements are the formal way for payment between the property owner and the city.
Questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
You'll be bringing us some more, I assume.
Yeah, we have a couple left on the 200 block, and then we're getting ready to start the 100 block.
Okay, very good.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing regarding the proposed conveyance of city-owned property located at 310 East Main Street, Ottumwa, Iowa, to Christner Properties, LLC.
Okay. I think Kevin's going to take this.
Yep.
Good evening, Kevin. We're at the public hearing stage, so you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city has received an offer from Christner Properties to purchase a small parcel of real estate legally described in the proposed purchase development agreement for the appraised sum of $2,000 and other valuable consideration. Said real estate is located adjacent to 304 East Main, approximately 20 feet wide, acquired recently by tax sale, which was then purchased from the tax sale holder by Christner. The combination of both lots by Christner Properties will result in one large lot for development. The city acquired this adjacent property through tax sale approximately 1 year ago. Originally, this vacant lot was the location of the Bollingal Hotel, which was demolished years ago. The city has been dealing with various nuisance issues involving the property since that time. Christner Properties is planning to utilize this lot for a new building, parking, and for its tenants. Christner's proposal promotes economic development in Westgate urban renewal area. Christner would pay the appraisal price, the appraised price, and the cost of all closing. The city has no other parties interested in the property at this price. To satisfy competitive bidding requirements, the city has gone through the appropriate processes. The development would leave the western side of that lot, which would be the corner at Green, for further development. I'll take any questions that members may have.
Well, let's check with our clerk. Have we had any written or oral comments to your office?
No objections were received.
Okay. Is there anyone in the viewing audience that wants to make any comments?
Let's see, one more minute.
Okay. Okay, hearing no objection, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Bob.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Resolution number 54, 2020, accepting the purchase and development agreement and approving the sale of real estate located at 310 East Main Street, Ottumwa, Iowa, to Christner Properties, LLC. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 54, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Skip. Any questions for Kevin? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
No.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned vacant lot located at 310 North Moore Street in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
This also is a public hearing, so Kevin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city received multiple purchase offers for this lot. Therefore, sealed bids were received until 2 p.m. on May 12th, 2020. One bid was received from Ed Black for the sum of $675. Mr. Black does not intend to build a dwelling on the lot, but since the lot is only 26 feet wide, using the lot for garden should be satisfactory. Staff recommends the city council accept Mr. Black's bid and approve the sale of the lot.
This is a public hearing, so again, if there's anyone that's listening that wants to comment on this, now's the time to do that. Give a minute. Again, I would ask the clerk, there's been no written or oral objection to your office.
No objections were received.
Okay. Are we able to proceed then? Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Resolution number 80, 2020, accepting the bid and approving the sale of 310 North Moore to Ed Black for the sum of $675. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 80, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Kevin?
I do, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
How many properties on that particular neighborhood does Mr. Black own currently? Do you know?
I don't know right offhand.
But he owns several on that street, doesn't he?
He may. Yeah.
Okay, I'm pretty
I'm
sure.
not sure I could get back to you on that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned vacant lot located at 119 North Ward Street in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
Public hearing again, Kevin, so you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city received multiple purchase offers for this lot. Therefore, sealed bids were received until 2 p.m. on May 12th, 2020. 2 bids were received. However, one bidder required that 2 trees be removed from the lot in order for the bid of $600 to be valid, a conditional bid in essence. Staff believes the best bidders in this instance are Michael and April Shilkus for the bid amount of $525, as they put no conditions upon their bid. None of the bidders intend to build a dwelling on the lot. Despite this fact, the moratorium on selling vacant lots considered buildable was adopted after initial proposals were received and after sealed bids were solicited. Staff therefore recommends the city council accept the Shilkus bid and approve the sale of this lot.
This is a public hearing, so again, if anyone wants to comment on this particular item, now is the time to call in.
Your Honor, I would like to comment on this.
Okay, let's give a moment.
You need the public hearing to close out before.
Did you have any written or oral comments at city clerk's office?
I received no objections.
Okay, so we're ready then.
Go ahead.
Okay, hearing no objection from the public, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Resolution number 82, 2020, accepting the bid and approving the sale of 119 North Ward to Michael and April Shilkus for the sum of $525.
Is there a motion?
Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 82, 2020.
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Okay, now,
Okay, if you haven't looked at this lot, it's a huge lot that we just tore a house out of there. If it's sold this way with no dwelling on it, of course, we're not going to get very many tax dollars. The other obstacle is right straight across the street is a mess. There's two houses that are a total mess that makes it less desirable for anybody to purchase that lot to build on. If those were cleaned up, this may be a good buildable lot. I would like to recommend that the council and city staff drive by this lot and take a look and see what you think. Has anybody else besides me seen this lot?
Yeah, I drove past it. I guess my concern, it doesn't say in here what they have desire to use this for. And so the purpose of why they want to purchase it when it's not adjacent, so that it's not adjacent to their property, is it?
They're not going to build on it. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the reason we're pulling it forward now, or putting it forward as we are, is that they were in process in the queue, if you will, before we did our moratorium. It would be an entirely acceptable decision by council, I think, on anyone's terms, if we were to say, you know, that yes, these were in queue, but this is indeed a buildable lot, and we have passed that moratorium. And while we have considered it, we want to consider our former position with the moratorium and reevaluate. I think either decision would be, from most people's perspective, pretty acceptable in the condition we're in right now, because we did just pass that moratorium.
Kevin, what are the dimensions of that lot? You know, I mean, roughly.
You know, I don't exactly know, but I know it's a buildable lot. It's over a 50.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't include on my staff update. I don't have it included the actual width of the lot, but it's over 50. It is a buildable lot. Yeah.
Can I state
That's another
something?
case. If we could get those derelict junk piles cleaned up across the street, that would make that lot more valuable. That's one reason why I push this stuff all the time. It's unbelievable. Your staff went down there about 9 days ago and tagged some vehicles and junk.
Mm-hmm.
And the 21st, I think, is the end of the 10 days. But I would just like to see the council and staff drive by this and take a look and see what you think.
Mr. Flanagan, a concern I have too, it says in it, they do not intend, but that's not binding then, is it? If they chose to build something on it?
Of course they could, yes.
Yeah.
The original petition said they wanted it for green space.
Yeah, that was my understanding. Yard, basically.
Not intent.
Is that the same people that live straight behind it?
I believe they're adjacent to it, yes.
Well, someone said that they was going to build a garage on it. You can't build a garage on a lot without a home, can you?
The city code does not allow the building of accessory structures without the principal structure being built first. However, in situations where lots have been adjacent, contiguous, in other words, touching, we have allowed structures to be built on the other lots, because right now there's a little bit, there's been some hesitancy, I think, on the county level of combining lots like that and making one large lot. So what the city has done basically is, as a policy, we've allowed people to do that in situations of contiguity. And in the doing of it, they require, of course, a meeting with the board, the zoning board of adjustments. And when they go into that meeting, they have with them what would be a restrictive covenants on that property. You can't sell one without the other, a restrictive deed. So that covers, it basically creates one lot of the both, because one cannot be sold without the other.
I'm kind of like Bob. There's a loose end there. What if they would decide to build a garage on that lot? between two houses, how would that look? Not very good, I don't think.
Yeah, aesthetically, of course, there's probably some different opinions on that, but in reality, they would have to come and they would have to get a variance to be able to do so, and they would have to bring with them that restrictive deed in order to even be viable to get a variance.
Mr. Flanagan, excuse me. Am I understanding you that even though the moratorium, this bidding process was done before we acted for the
The moratorium?
moratorium, we still can deny this, is that right?
Yes, very much. It's within your power to accept or deny. I feel like I gave you a recommendation that we gave you the recommendation that we did because it felt to be an appropriate decision, but I don't think that that means that denying it in the sense that we have since passed a moratorium would be inappropriate from council. I think it would be entirely acceptable. And of course, it doesn't preclude us from selling a lot in the future, you know, to another person or the same people, right? It just means while we have this moratorium, until we've made policy, councils have the chance to make policy decisions. They want to hold off on selling lots.
Thank you. Any other discussion or comments?
I was going to say that I think it's becoming for the council to, you know, with the property here is to sell property for the best use that you deem fit. Now you have two offers that were presented, and the recommendation from staff was between those two offers. It's still, you know, on your shoulders as far as if you think this is the best use for the property at this time, to agree to sell it or to perhaps hold on to it and do something else with it in the future. Now for the property that we maintain, you know, we do have the maintenance costs and things like that. But if there is some better value or better use for the property, you know, that's something that has to be weighed out there too. So it is completely your decision, moratorium aside. The moratorium essentially just says that we wouldn't be selling any vacant lots that are considered buildable until we get a better policy in place that helps you with those decisions. This one is completely on you at this point.
So we do have a motion and a second to pass this resolution. Are you ready to vote, council? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Stevens?
No.
Councilmember Myers?
No.
Councilmember Burke?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, motion fails 4-1 then.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 2020 Catch Basin Replacement Program.
Good evening, Larry. You have the floor again.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our annual catch basin project, and we'll reconstruct and raise catch basin wells with new grates as indicated on the plans and specifications. Basins are located on various streets within the city of Ottumwa. Bids will be received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on June 3rd, 2020 at 2 p.m. A bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the city council meeting on June 16th or at a later date determined by staff. Budgeted amount is $50,000 from the sewer fund.
This is a public hearing also, so we have an opportunity for comments, and I would ask the clerk again, has there been any written or oral comment to your office?
No objections were received.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Resolution number 113, 2020, approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 2020 Catch Basin Replacement Program. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 113, 2020.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Larry? Okay, hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposal to enter into a development agreement with Highlands Development 1 LLC.
Kevin, you have the floor. It's a public hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution will establish a development agreement between the city and Highlands Development 1 LLC for the redevelopment of the old Target building, or what we know of as the old Target building. The project will be an overall estimate of approximately $8 plus or minus $1 million. The TIF rebate for this development is set not to exceed within the contract $3.8 million over the course of a 20-year agreement period. However, our actual estimated TIF exposure to the city is approximately 2.6 to 2.8 million over that same 20-year period for the overall rebate. But I would entertain any questions. Oh, I should add also that our main tenant, of course, is the VA facility. And our developer is looking at this like a two-phased type development where the VA is in there presently, ready to go. And then second phase is the retail phase, which essentially with our rebate agreement, we're buying down rent is the effect of what we're doing with our TIF rebate for 2 to 3 potential, what I've been told are national retailers. And that's about all that I can release at this point about those retailers, but they are national brands.
Again, Chris, has there been any written or oral comments to your office?
No objections were received in my office.
Let's give it a minute. Okay. Having no objection, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Resolution number 119, 2020, approving and authorizing execution of a development agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa and Highlands Development 1 LLC. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 119, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Kevin, one question. As I read the development, and this has been reviewed by Allers and Cooney for the setup, they have to complete the work by the end of this year. Is that correct? That's going to put a tight schedule. December of 2020?
Yes, it is quite a tight schedule on the development agreement. Of course, that's going to be phase 1,
Yeah.
essentially.
We can
And I-
hold them to that so we don't get delayed.
Yes, I think, the VA, I think, is in a bit of a hurry, and they've been planning for quite a while. So that first phase is quick. And the second phase may be as well. We're imagining this in phases. I mean, we're doing it as an agreement. The developer is more looking at it in phases from his perspective. From our perspective, of course, we're and you saw that within the agreement when you saw the minimum assessment for a phased minimum assessment. Now, in conversations with the developer, from our position, we usually see that happen organically rather in phases officially within a document like we did this time. We see it happen organically because we see partial assessments instead of full assessments. Okay. But our developer wanted to see it in there as 2 phases like that. And that's why you see that early date, because that first phase is I don't want to say it's a simple part of the development, but it's certainly agreed to and everybody's ready on that side. So they're going right in to parcel out the inside of the building and quickly should be able to get that done.
Okay. Are there any questions from council? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. It'll be good to have some activity over there.
It is good. This a long time coming and filling that building. So.
Resolution number 110, 2020, fixing an amount for abating a nuisance against certain lots in the city of Ottumwa, Iowa, totaling $67,251.56. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 110, 2020.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city abated nuisances on all the properties in this resolution, subsequently billed the property owners for the cost of the abatements. Property owners on the resolution did not pay the invoices. Therefore, the cost will be assessed as real estate taxes. All properties on the resolution were demolished, and the sum of the associated cost is $67,251.56.
Any questions for Kevin? Kevin, do we have any formal policy as to at what point do we turn a nuisance into a formal action and then do the abatement process? I mean, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, several of these are over $10,000. And it's just curiosity.
Yeah, we haven't. Well, no. I mean, it depends on what we're placing on as taxes, right? We do this yearly with our fees from the year prior activities and code enforcement. And no, we don't have a really hard and fast. We just want to make sure and try to collect the goods that are owed in the most timely manner that we can get them done.
Council, any questions, comments? Hearing none, take the roll.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say we don't want these cases to languish.
No, I agree. Agree. Go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 111, 2020, budget amendment for fiscal year 2021 to add an additional 2.5-ton dump truck to the street department. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 111, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Larry, you have the floor.
On an annual basis, the city mechanics perform an evaluation of the city equipment. Based upon that evaluation, it was recommended that a 2.5-ton dump truck be replaced in the up and coming fiscal year. This recommendation was presented and accepted by the Fleet Committee. The funds are available in the fleet escrow account. During budget, the second truck was inadvertently omitted. This budget amendment will add $175,000 for the purchase of that second dump truck.
Any questions for Larry? What would happen if you didn't purchase this truck?
Well, it's always a gamble. I mean, we've pushed off trucks before. Sometimes we win, sometimes we do not. You know, if you have a transmission go out, you might spend, I'm not sure what a transmission for this truck costs, but it could be $3,500, $7,000. I don't know the range of this one. We've had that on different ones. The one I do remember on our street sweeper, we postponed it 1 year. We had a drive motor go out and a collection belt go out, and they were in the $7,500 range.
Council, any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 112, 2020, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the 2019 asphalt street repair program. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 112, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
Our annual asphalt paving program was created in 2003. It is a unit price contract that we bid with asphalt tonnage ranges. Expanded street repair program is funded by the local option sales tax or lost revenue. This project was awarded to Norris Asphalt Paving of Ottumwa, Iowa on May 7th, 2019. Change order 1 decreases the contract sum by $743,478.66 for the reduction of quantity adjustments. Norris Asphalt Paving of Ottumwa has completed the above reference work according to the plans and specifications, and this will authorize the approval of change 1 with the final payment releasing all the retainage. One of the things that was asked about this contract, keep in mind that when we bid this, and I don't have the bid tab in front of me, we have ranges like 100 to 200 tons, like 200 to 300 tons in order to get an adjustment of the price based on quantity. When we do these, we try to group the streets that we've selected together in order to get an upper tonnage that always has a more favorable price. So there's always a reduction at the end of these projects. What we do is in those ranges, if it's 100 to 200 or 200 to 300, we have to apply the tonnage price to the lowest unit, or and I'll just use an example. If it was $100 a ton, we would just multiply the low unit price, or 100. That comes up with the total bid amount, even though we know we're not going to lay that much asphalt. I know at times there's questions, why did we underrun it? And I just wanted to try to address that since it's a unit price contract.
Any other questions for Larry?
I have a question, Larry.
Go ahead, Skip.
This was work that was completed last fall, correct?
Correct.
And we're just now paying them several months later?
Well, there was some additional work just to finish it up, but yes.
There was work done, what, this year that was for last year's project, or what are you saying?
Just some finalization on the paperwork and stuff, yes.
Does that cost you more money?
No.
Okay. And they're happy with that?
Yes. If you remember, it's ultimately up to the contractor to submit all the finer quantities and requirements.
Yes, I understand. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 114, 2020, approving change order number 5 and the amount of $5,123.05 for the Main Street Downtown Streetscape Reconstruction Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 114, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Okay, go ahead, Larry.
Additional cost to supply an additional 16x6 mechanical joint T for the water main and to lower previously installed sanitary sewer in the 300 block. Unit prices were reduced for the mid-block bridges from $16,000 to $14,500 for each unit. Change order 5 decreases the contract amount by $5,123.05. The new contract sum will be $5,145,443.33.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 116, 2020, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the beach renovations Phase 4 RFP 7X wood fence repairs project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 116, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Gene. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council approved the contract in the amount of $4,560 to Ramsey Paint Contracting of Ottumwa, Iowa on November 5th, 2019. This project entailed repair of the damaged fencing and repainting of the south wood fence. Change order number 1 addresses additional repair and repainting in the amount of $1,100. The contractor has completed the above referenced work according to the plans and specifications. Upon approval, the council will accept the project and authorize final payment and release of all retainages.
Any questions for Gene? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 117, 2020, accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for Phase 4 beach renovations slide structure repainting project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 117, 2020.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead, Gene.
This project involved providing the labor and equipment to sandblast, prime, and paint the structural steel of the slide stair tower and the slide structural steel supports. This work was performed by Mongan Painting Company of Cherokee, Iowa. The contractor has completed the above referenced work according to the plans and specifications. Upon approval, the council will accept the project and authorize final payment and release all retainages. The final amount due is $5,684.39.
Any questions for Gene? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Thank you, Gene.
Resolution number 121, 2020, recommendation to transfer $115,880.93 to the Bridgeview Center for delinquent payables due to lost revenue related to COVID-19. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 121, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Holly. And just in time. Good evening, Kayla. You have the floor. We're on the resolution for the Bridgeview Center.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This evening, we are here for the transfer of the $115,880.93 to the Bridgeview Center for the delinquent payables due to the lost revenue related to COVID-19. The difference for discussion purposes this evening from the prior resolutions that was received is these expenses will be paid using an internal loan, so it will not reduce the general fund balance. Essentially, we're investing some of our own funds at a 2 to 3 year interest-only internal loan that gives BBC and the city a little more time to figure out their relief efforts from state and or federal funding that's received from the SMART Act that was just released for smaller cities and or state relief that's coming forward, and also gives the Bridgeview Center time to repay this internal loan as well.
Any questions for Kayla?
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, so at a previous meeting, and it's in part of the staff summary, the Bridgeview Center, or Venue Works, I should say, had mentioned that they were setting aside $26,736 of variable costs that they would have received this year from the city, which could be applied towards that, and $40,000 for next year as well. Yesterday, I sat in on a phone call where Bridgeview Center Inc. had agreed to contribute up to $45,000 of towards capital projects and other things that are needed for the facility at Bridgeview Center. And so that's additional dollars that would have been spent, some of that this year, some of it next year, towards costs and betterment for the facility. So there are partners that are out there with helping to address some of this. As Kayla mentioned, we're looking at the ability to be able to partake in any additional federal or state funds that might be available for cities or event centers like this. And that's one of the things that the internal loan allows us to do, is to be able to push off that time a little bit. It's a win-win situation for us, whereas we have one fund that has dollars invested in savings accounts or CDs at a lower interest rate, and we can transfer that into a fund that needs it at the moment, and it would be a better interest rate than going on the market and trying to borrow those funds. And so we get the advantage of having a lower interest rate on the borrowing side and a better interest rate on the investment side, and being able to help that internally. So there's some of the benefit on that. And then looking forward, we're hoping that we will have a strong recovery on the economy in hotel, motel, in other revenues and property values that will help provide additional revenue going forward to help pay this back, as well as any agreements that we can get with the partners, whether that be the contract with Venue Works or Bridgeview Center Inc.
I would also share with the council that late this afternoon, I was able to obtain a rather well-written article from the government finance organization that talks about internal loans in difficult times, and I'd be happy to make that available to any council member that would like to read it. It's, I think, about 7 pages, but it's a very well-written article, and I think it helps me to understand why this might be a good investment for the city, and certainly to help operational costs for bridges past year. So just wanted to share that. Any questions for Kayla from council? Any comments? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
No.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla.
Resolution number 123, 2020, revising policy number 20-2018, sewer charges and fees, adjusting how the credits are established for homeowners with a swimming pool, and establishing revised policy number 2018 effective July 1, 2020. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 123, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Are you going to make some comments on this, Kayla? Thank you.
Good evening. We have put forth a policy change that states an irrigation meter will now be needed to receive a one-time 50% credit per calendar year for the excess water used for pools. And this policy change will take effect July 1st of this year. If the citizens have a pool currently and they would like a refund for their sewer credit, they can still request one until June 30th to have those calculations done. And I think that, a lot of this is because we are not filling a retirement position that does this calculation for the city and these measurements for the pool credits. So if you guys have any questions about the irrigation meter, Larry can answer those questions for you.
Questions from council or?
So I guess I was just going to say, so I think we've talked about it, but I just wanted for the public to understand the considerable amount of time that the cost benefit there on having them calculated by staff, how much that was costing.
Yes. Yeah, we currently have a staff member that does those calculations, and it goes through a process through engineering, and then it comes to finance for further calculations, then to Ottumwa Waterworks for more information to be placed on the bill for a refund, and then it comes back to the city for more information that needs to be done.
So essentially it's costing the general taxpayer, the non-pool taxpayer, quite a bit of money to be able to have that done in that way.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Kayla, this says swimming pools, and I know that resolution that we passed previous to this had emergency or accidental water discharges that weren't related to swimming pools. Are those going to stay intact, or are those also going to be gone and have to have, obviously you can't predict those, so an irrigation meter would do no good there. How's
No,
that?
those policy, that does not change within the policy.
Okay.
If there's vandalism or pipe breaks, a kid leaves the water running, something like that, they can still turn it in if it's over and above that unit ratio that's in the policy.
Okay, and if somebody wanted to put in an irrigation meter, and this may be for Larry or you, just a quick question, to start that process, and then Larry, we've gone through that too, and I don't need you to, to tell me again, but for the public's sake, who would they need to get in contact with if they did choose to go, have an irrigation meter put in? I didn't know if that'd be us, Waterworks, or who that would be.
Well, ultimately, they'd have to get in contact with the plumber. The plumber would work with Waterworks. I mean, they could check, but the plumbers typically end up installing the meter. Waterworks, they supply them. They have to put down a deposit on the meter. And then, of course, Waterworks has to incorporate that into their billing program. They do have a specific method they want. They want it ahead of the master meter that actually calculates the sewer charge. And then they would auto read that one too. It is fortunate in one way that the auto read meters have come out. I think Waterworks have been using them approximately 5 years. And of course, depending on how they're set up in their basement will determine their cost. You know, if they already have where they can insert a second meter, that if they have an existing irrigation system, that's probably pretty good because then they have a dedicated line to the outside that they could plug in and tap off of. But again, each house would be unique. You know, where does their outside spigot run? Is it finished ceilings? Is it finished walls? So the price is really hard to determine. Online, the meter they use is about $258, depending on the size they put in, of course. One of the prices I got from Waterworks is $427. That's one of the larger meters, I think. So each one will be individual.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Any other comments or questions?
I'm assuming Waterworks is on board with this plan as well, as it'll save them considerable time as well.
Right.
Okay. No other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
We're down to item J on our agenda. If there's any public comment that anybody wants to make, they can use the phone number that I previously mentioned. We'll check the hallway and see if there's anybody outside. We'll give a couple of minutes for that. And while we're doing that wait time, I would just share with the council that the Test Iowa program has picked up. We did 183 tests yesterday. So we're right at about 470 tests that have been taken. They are going to stay here right now through the 29th, but there is a meeting this week to really make that final determination. Secondly, I would like to personally just thank Brad Grief from the Regional Planning Office. As most of you know, we have been working for over a year on the build grant application. And on Friday afternoon at approximately 4:15, we submitted the application. Took a little longer than we had planned on, and we had a few glitches, as we would say in the technical world, but we got it done. And I want to thank Brad. He brought his laptop and was able to transfer files and helped us with that process. And he put a lot of time and energy into the actual completion of the grant. And so I think we all owe him a big thanks for the great job he did. And the consultants, Vanderwall, were very impressed with the final product. So they've got a lot of experience. Is there any public comment from anybody, or is there any information from council that we should be aware of for city business? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you all and good night. 6:34.